as soon as he stops chasing that pitch off the plate, now they gotta bring their pitches back over the plate, and that's when Judge is at his best. So all I know is the Yankees need him, and they need him bad right now in Game 3.
And I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top. Keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life. Hey.
Boom, coming in hot. Can't you on a Monday, Game 3 on the eve of it, baby.
Game 3, bro. All eyes shift into the boogie down. We're going from the left coast to the correct coast. Dude, couple quick stats, though, going in that are Dodgers friendly. Teams that have taken a 2-0 lead in a best-of-7 postseason series gone on to win 77 of 92 times. That's 84%. Under the current 2-3-2 format, teams that have won games 1 and 2 at home have gone on to win 45 out of 56 series. That's 80%. However, if you're a Yankees fan, down 0-2 in 78, down to 0-2 in 96, won both of those series. Dicey. Pitching matchup, though, you were fired up about this pitching matchup, aren't you, though?
Well, Schmidt versus Walker Buehler, obviously, they're really going to need Clark Schmidt to pitch well tonight. They really are. I mean, at the end of the day, you're hoping to get I think Boone, if he got 4 good innings, I think that would be enough. But I'd like to see maybe 5 innings from Clark Schmidt. Got that cutter working. We'll see how he's done pretty good this postseason. And on the flip side, Walker Buehler, you go back to his start against the Mets, man, really throwing that sweeper a lot more, over 20% of the time when he was throwing it just 8% during the regular season. Made a big-time adjustment against the Mets, 4 innings, 6 Ks. I think you're going to see him spin the ball a lot tonight, man. A lot of knuckle curveballs, a lot of sweepers, a lot of two-seamers. I think he's not going to rely so heavily on that 4-seamer, and when he does, it'll be on the upper rail. So should be a great matchup tonight, man.
Yeah. Now, all right, two biggest people in the world and storylines. Aaron Judge, 6 for 40, dude, in the postseason. He's 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. He's got to be pepper in right field today. You're his hitting coach tonight. What are you saying?
Well, one thing I see with Judgy, I think the biggest thing about when you see a guy like Aaron Judge, when he's really going well, and when any big leaguer that are star players are going well, you think about Soto, you think about Stanton, you think about Betts, you think about Freeman and Ohtani. These guys are star players. When these guys are going well, they do a great job of taking the strike to ball. Now, what I mean by that is, as a pitcher, your whole job is deception. You want me as a hitter to think that this ball is a strike. You want me to commit early. As soon as I commit early and you can get some late run, that's why you're a big leaguer, I'm in trouble. So when I see Judgy right now, what I see is the recognition of that strike is too early. So what's happening is he's committing early, and all of a sudden, if you watch, the ball is leaving him at the last second after he's already kind of committed and rushed out there. Now listen, as a hitter that's been there before and struggled with myself, you think sometimes that you have to do more to get back and to do well. That's the opposite. It's the opposite. You have to try to do less. You have to let the ball travel. You have to slow yourself down. And it's just not an easy thing to do when you're struggling. So hopefully Judgy tonight, going into Game 3, he's back in the Bronx. He has his routine in the cages down there. They have a pitching machine down there where he can turn on the machine and face Walker Buehler and maybe just track some pitches to face that knuckle curve and face that sweeper. Take a look at it before he gets out there tonight, and hopefully, because I think the biggest thing, Chinch, is as soon as he stops chasing that pitch off the plate, now they got to bring their pitches back over the plate, and that's when Judge is at his best. So all I know is the Yankees need him, and they need him bad right now in Game 3.
They really do. That's great analysis, though, dude. And then, of course, on the other side, you got Shohei Ohtani, left shoulder. He says it won't affect him as much because this is interesting, dude. I don't know if you got a bat over there or something.
Yeah, I do. I just happen to have one right here.
So let's not forget. If there's one thing I can relate to, if anything, it's I'm right-handed and I batted lefty in college. So strong hand is bottom hand for him. It's very different. How is that going to affect him? What's your take on this left shoulder and how it's going to treat him today?
Well, sometimes as a right-handed thrower, I was too, and a left-handed batter, this bottom hand, your control hand, it kind of drops the brittle into the zone. Now listen, your backhand's really your power hand, though, because the bottom hand comes in and your backhand is the one that shoots it into the gap. So I understand that he's going to have control with the right hand, but that back shoulder, which is the one that he injured, you still have to have that too, Chinch. I've had a back shoulder injury the whole season at one point, and I tell you what, one thing would be where I would get in trouble is when sometimes I get the contact here, and instead of being able to really get through it with that back shoulder, I sometimes will cut it off because of the pain in my shoulder. So it's going to be interesting to see, what's the pain level. Obviously an 80% Shohei Ohtani is better than most mortal humans out there, so that's still good. But I think pain will be his guide, and we'll see how he does.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the physical side of things, right?
Yeah.
And what's Yogi Berra say? 90% of the game is half mental or something like that. All right. We have a really perfect guest for this side of the story right now.
Yes.
And it's one of your boys, somebody you're very close
Well,
with. What we
a
got?
friend of the show's. If you haven't seen this episode, I think last offseason we did an episode with Brian Cain, one of the best mental performance coaches in the industry. I mean, this guy works with a lot of NBA guys. I can say he worked with George St. Pierre, right? Because that's pretty much out there. I was in the corner when George St. Pierre won his UFC titles. Works with many big league ball players. A lot of he works with some hockey players. Any sport you can mention, Brian Cain is involved, and he's a dear friend of mine. And I'm going to bring him in right now. We have him over at the network.
Yes.
Have Cainer at the network today, coming in to watch the show and enjoy Cainer.
Let's go.
Oh.
Hey, man, what a privilege to be here.
Come on in,
and
man.
it's good.
Nice to have you. What's up, Kaner?
Oh, Chin's doing great, man. As everybody knows, Case is a hitter, as good of a hitter as he was. You should have seen him throwing BP to me earlier here. He was getting me out left and right, man. The guy should have had to come back as a pitcher.
Yeah. I said, Cainer, you can't come to Studio 42 without hitting a couple wiffle balls. You actually locked a couple up.
Yeah.
Hit a couple bullets.
Hit a couple out of here.
Hit one.
Every
Yeah,
swing and miss, I might have hit one, but it was solid, man. What an awesome experience to be here at the network, Case. Can't thank you enough for having me, and excited to be here with you again, Chinch. Good to see you.
Cainer, what did you? I mean, I just brought Cainer up, and obviously Chinch was, one of the big producers here for a long time. Helped start this place. But what did you enjoy most about sitting in for the show? We put an earpiece in your ear. You can hear everything in the back. You got the chance to go to the back.
Yeah. Just seeing the behind the curtain of everything that goes into a show production. I've had a chance to be on a truck at like an event, right? The ESPN truck that's there, and you go in there and that's chaotic. But you come in here and it's just everything times 10, or if not 100, and everything that's so big. And, I've shown the video case of you talking about your mental approach to hitting and process over outcome and watching positive video of yourself, knowing you belong. And it happened right there. So to be here and see where you broke down that video, which I've seen easily 100 times. I didn't realize that I was actually standing in a field. I'm like, when are they going to have a charity wiffle ball event here that's going to be the best wiffle ball event in the history of wiffle ball events?
So great. Well, dude, it's great having you here. Obviously we've always talked about you getting to the network. But, we are in World Series time, right? And, dude, you're one of the best mental performance coaches out there. You work with a lot of different players. But in general, when you talk about big games in baseball and, any of the guys that you might have worked with over the years, what are some of the things what are some of the things that you think would be the most important for guys that are in high stress situations?
Yeah, I think it goes back to when did we get started doing the work, right? And I remember my mentor, Ken Ravizza, when he started doing this, and I was a grad student of his in 2002 and 3 at Cal State Fullerton, he would say, early in my work, so that's him going back to like the 80s, right, in the 90s. He'd say, early in my work, they'd bring me in as a mental performance coach before the college bowl game or before the World Series game, and they'd think that it'd be some big speech that was going to make a difference in that game's performance. And he goes, and that's not it. It's about how are you practicing today. It's about the system that you run on a day-to-day basis. So, I've got 4 active clients playing in the World Series, two on each team. And what I would say to them is process it properly, right? We weren't installing routines and habits and behaviors during a game, your breath, the way you talk to yourself, the way you walk to home plate, or, with your body language. We weren't installing that to have success games 1 through 162, and all of a sudden it's going to change in the postseason. So it's not rising to the occasion. It's syncing to your training and habits, but also giving the moment its due, right? In the moment of it's the biggest stage, is what you've dreamed about playing your entire life, and processing that properly. But you can't look at it as it's the World Series. You have to look at it as it's 60 feet, 6 inches, me against you, this one pitch, this one game is all that matters. Right now, let me feel the dirt in the box. Let me hear the dirt in the box, finish my breath to get present. And if they're not doing that, that's what I think they can get away from the routine that they've been working all year that's made them successful.
I love that. I love that because all those things are things that I know for me playing in the World Series, the atmosphere is different. You know, the energy is different. There's a different level of when you get in that box of like control. How can I control myself now? And my breath's got to be a little bit better. It's got to be a little more crisp. And one thing that we were talking about earlier before we came on, I've been working with University of Pittsburgh baseball team, and I was talking to them yesterday about pressure. And because pressure in the World Series, you know, can feel like a lot because, like I said, it's a heightened situation. But I was telling them pressure is nothing but an invention of an undisciplined mind. An invention of an undisciplined mind. And what I mean by that is when your preparation is off the charts, like you talk about with a lot of the guys that you work with, what's your preparation for 162? What's your protocol and your process for what you do? When preparation and protocol are at an elite level, pressure is eliminated. And I think that's a big thing is that we have to understand as guys that get in the box, as guys that are in professional sports, especially when a heightened situation comes like the World Series or the Super Bowl. When guys say, oh, there was so much pressure, I say, BS. That's an invention of an undisciplined mind. Pressure is nothing but something that's made up. What's your protocol look like? Do you have a breath? Are you hunting a fastball, look middle away, reacting in? Are you on time and ready to hit? You know, those kind of things are so important. So when you talk about that, Cain, I know for you that's a big part of like protocol, process. Like, and you talk about Ken Ravizza, you know, talking to Harvey Dorfman, who was one of the best mental performance coaches too. Like, he didn't even want to hear anything about pressure. He didn't want to hear anything about that, anything that was result oriented. It was all about what does your protocol and process look like, and anything other than that, I don't really want to even hear about it.
Well, when you're focused in the present moment, do you even experience pressure, right? It's
Right.
like when you're focused in the present moment on the task at hand, are you thinking if you're confident or not? Are you thinking that there's pressure? No, you're focused on what your job is in that present moment,
Right.
and then everything else takes a back seat to what am I doing on this pitch right here, right now. And, you know, you mentioned Ken Ravizza. I go back to when the Cubs won the World Series and he was with Joe Madden. And that season, they were picked in Vegas to be the team to win the World Series that year. So him and Joe were at dinner probably at Steak 44 in Arizona. And
Best steak ever.
the Wagyu. Scripting out the plan for the year, like the mental approach for the year, right? And you can see this in the book, The Cubs Way by Tom Verducci. There's the target, and the target has like 6 pieces to it. But up on the top right above the arrow, it says pressure is a privilege. Process it properly. It means you're doing something that you care about and you're in the right place.
Ooh.
You're right. It was so good. And to look at changing your relationship with pressure to say, this is a privilege. This is what I've dreamed of. This is where I want to be, but I'm going to process it the same way I would if it was any other game. And I have these tools and these aspects of my routine that allow me to do so. And like what you'll see with players is you'll see the deep breath. And what you won't be able to tell is that when they're walking to home plate and the hand is on the barrel and they are walking there, it's intentional body language. It's an intentional slow of walking to home plate, right? That's one thing I would say, especially like game 1 of a World Series. Game 3 now, it's kind of like just back to their normal routine. But game 1 of a World Series, your first playoff game, is walk slower to home plate than maybe you normally would in the regular season, or walking slowly from the bullpen to the mound as I had guys, you know, pitching in the postseason, because you want to take that moment in, but you also just want to check to make sure that you're where your feet are. And I got that from working with golfers, right? Going, hey, you're going to tee off on 18 with a 1-stroke lead on Sunday. Walk slower to the tee box. Or as Greg Norman talked a lot about, like walking slower to the first tee to start a tournament because everybody gets excited.
Case, what's that lid you got on right there?
Dude, you kidding me? It's my favorite hat. You know me, Chinch. I'm a hat snob, dude. I really am. This is my new melon hat. I've had it for a few months now, dude. It's incredible. It's super comfortable. The one thing I love about it too, you know, sometimes you wear hats all the time, they get those sweat stains. This hat doesn't get a sweat stain. It's got unbelievable comfort fitting. It fits perfectly with the snapback on the back. It's 5 times more durable, I think, than any other hat I've ever had. So, man, this hat's incredible. The Melon hat, man. You got to get a couple of these, brother.
Yeah, dude, I've heard about him. It's like the most premium, durable headwear in like the whole world. And, people use them for tailgating, working out on a golf course. You're going golfing later today, heading out for date night with Sarah. You throw the Melon cap on, right? Am I right?
I wear it for everything, dude. The only thing I can't wear it to is premium restaurants where they're like, okay, you got to take your hat off. So other than that, I'm wearing my Melon hat pretty much everywhere. Dude, it's my new favorite hat. I've been wearing my Melon hat for the past few months straight, dude. No sweat stains, what I said, no smell. Looks the same as the day I took it out of the box. I get a ton of compliments on it every time I wear it. It's even better. They have different options for different weather. If it's warm out or you might be jumping in the pool, lake, or ocean, you need their Hydro Collection, bro. The Hydro Collection is next level, Chinch. You'd love that. But when it gets cold and you need to stay warm, don't worry, brother. Melon has you covered there as well. They have a full thermal collection with different levels of warmth to keep you on whatever you need for when the winter's coming up, brother. Big time.
Nice.
So if you're looking for hats as tough as you, my man, check out Melon. You won't wear anything else after you get one on for yourself. And I know I've been loving my Melon.
Yeah, listen to Sean Casey, folks. If you're looking for the world's most durable hat, look no further. Go to melon.com. That's MELIN.com and put it to the test yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, Case, I got a question for you. If I use examples from this series right now, so games 1 and 2, I'll give you an example of I'm Freddie Freeman. I just had 2 of the greatest games of my life, but now, oh my God, I have a break. I have this whole day to sit and think. I want to stay hot. I want to stay hot. As opposed to Aaron Judge, who is like, he's got the weight of New York on his back literally right now, and he's coming into this off day going, God, I can't wait to get to the ballpark. How do you, one guy versus the other, what is the thought process that you would trigger for each of them in that layoff when you've gone from up here to down there?
Yeah, that's a great point, Tinch. 2 guys with like Judge and Freeman. I mean, Judgy obviously is coming in. He's struggling, so he's excited to get to the park, see if he can find a feel, see if he can find something in the cages, whatever it is, with his routine. And then Freddie Freeman's coming in, and he's hot. He wants to get out there. He wants to. You don't want to have a day off when you're hot. So he's ready for Game 3. One thing I wanted to go back to from what Cain was talking about before about process and protocol. If you go back to Freddie Freeman's grand slam to win it in Game 1, and you hear his interview after the game, and he talks about, you know what, I watched film on Shohei Ohtani because Ohtani is, he has some history against Nestor, and usually when Ohtani's up, that pitcher's back's against the wall, and I wanted to see what he throws when his back's against the wall. Now here comes Freddie Freeman with his what I say before, preparation and process will squash pressure, right? So he's got the preparation of watching Ohtani, the preparation of watching his at-bats against Nestor, preparation about knowing what he wants to throw, and then he says, I knew I wanted to push the cutter and the slider out, and I was looking for the fastball middle in, something that I could be on time for. And then he got the fastball, hit the grand slam, and ends up hitting one of the biggest home runs in World Series history. But the point being, I was telling the kids the other day, I said, was Freddie Freeman thinking about, man, I have a chance to be a hero here? And that's result-oriented. That's distraction. Was I thinking about my dad's in the front row? I can get a big hit for him. And distraction. That's a result-oriented goal. Was I thinking about being the hero here for the LA Dodgers? If I hit a line drive to left, maybe that's what I got to do, and I got to get a hit here. And distraction, right? What do you think? Process. He was prepared, stayed with his protocol, hunted the fastball, be on time for it, hit one of the greatest home runs in World Series history. Cain, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think you couldn't be more spot on. I think it was the first pitch of the at-bat, too.
Yeah, first pitch.
Right, and I
first
think that's
pitch
one of the things, too, where of first time facing that guy, right, and first pitch of the at-bat, you got to be ready to go. There's a thing that we talk about called the rule of 90, and if you can look this up, 90% of first pitches that pitchers throw are a favorable outcome for the pitcher. So it's either a swing and miss, foul ball, right, called strike, or ball put in play out, 90%. So as a pitcher, you want to get ahead, you're going to throw the ball over the middle of the plate, which when you're trying to, you're still probably not going to do it because of how much the ball moves. But as a hitter, you have to be ready for that pitch. And a lot of times you see guys take a first pitch like that in that situation, and Freddie being ready to go, that just shows how much the preparation was.
No, he was really ready to go. One other thing we were talking about, Cainer, is about routines, especially in a situation right now, because I know with your clients, you're big on getting these guys routine, getting them every day doing the same things to get ready for game time. What have you heard from your guys about the World Series? Is it affecting their routine at all?
Yeah, I mean the routine of the layoff between when they played the last game in the championship series until the World Series, like that's something that's different. They never have 5 days off or 4 days off during the season other than the All-Star break. So that's one thing. The other piece is just the extended timeline of a World Series game, of more media availability, and you have to be a little bit more flexible with a pregame concert that goes longer than expected, right? So you have to not be rigid with the routine, but you have to be able to be flexible with the routine. And you still do the same things to prepare, to get yourself ready to go, to be in the present moment, to focus on your process, to compete one pitch at a time, control the things you can control. Yet you have to be able to be flexible and adapt and adjust based off of what you're given this time of year in October.
Yep.
That's a great point. Ice Cube, like I saw that they were ready to come out, and Ice Cube's got like a 6-minute awesome performance, but like they're standing there ready to take the field, and Ice Cube's just hanging out on the field singing his song. I can't imagine that stress level for them.
I know for me that had to rattle them a little bit. I mean, the guy came out, Ice Cube was saying like 3 songs.
Starting pitcher too, right? Starting pitchers, they get to play once a week, so their routine is so structured that now if a guy's sitting in the dugout before he goes out there and it's 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes, like that can be a factor. But you have to anticipate the adversity, right? 2 things I think in October baseball: anticipate adrenaline, it's going to be there, and anticipate adversity. There's so much that's out of your control. And when that shows up, you have to have the skills and processes that you've been building since the start of the season. You're not just going to get those overnight from a speech.
Yeah, so that doesn't become an excuse for you.
Yeah.
Doesn't anticipate. I love that.
Anticipate adrenaline, anticipate adversity. It's going to be there in big time performance. Do you have the skills to be able to handle those?
That's so good, man. That's so good. We're going to end on that. Anticipate adrenaline, anticipate adversity. When you have Brian Cain here, he's going to give you all the answers that we need, Chinch. I'm sure you learned a lot today. You can lock it in as we leave here.
So good, Kaner. Thank you so much for that. What a unique, like it's not just.
Man. It was awesome,
I just told Kaner, I was like, come on the podcast. We're about to do it right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just see the ball, hit the ball, I guess, for these guys, right?
There's
Awesome
a lot
stuff,
more that goes
guys.
into this.
There's a lot more that goes into it, but that's ultimately the outcome that we're trying to get to. But you'll get to the outcome by talking about the outcome. You get to the outcome that you're looking at by running a good process.
Great stuff, guys.
Thanks a lot. To a friend of the show. He'll be back on here when we do our mental performance stuff this offseason. You can see Brian Cain again on the mayor's office. So
Dominate the day. Thanks for
Dominate the day today. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Chinchy, love you, man. I'll catch you tomorrow. Let's go Yanks tonight because we want to see a good World Series, right?
Yeah.